Hello, this is Erin with the Joy in Pens and Paper, and it is the 39th 3 Inks Thursday. In a 3 Inks Thursday video, what I do is I swatch 3 inks on 3 different papers with 3, and then do a little writing sample with 3 nib sizes. I have a TWSBI Go in fine, medium, and stub. And then at the end, I do a little discussion about what I notice and in the swatches and the differences and what my thoughts are. And I love for you to share what you notice and what your thoughts are, because certainly my eye is going to see things a little bit differently than yours might. So for this week, the ink that I kind of pulled to base the rest on was Diamine Cranberry. I am going through all of the Diamine inks from the 2024 Inkvent calendar and comparing them to other inks that I have in my collection. Now, full transparency, I had a couple of inks that I really was hoping to compare this to that in going through my collection, I've now learned that those inks are no longer in my collection. They were samples, and I think one or both of them I shared, perhaps with Fountain Pen Insanity. If you watch this and this is accurate, please confirm, but I'm pretty sure when I did a meetup, those were in a bin, and I'm happy to have shared them. But that was, so I have Cranberry. So the first one that I'm going to compare it to is Pilot Iroshizuku Yamabudo. It's a little hard to read that, but that is what this says. And then the other one is Diamine Inkvent All the Best. This is the 25th ink from, I think it was the 2021 Inkvent calendar. Pretty sure, yeah. All right. And what I will do is I will swatch this in the middle. So I'm going to start with Pilot Iroshizuku Yamabudo because there's no shimmer, but this one does have a sheen similar to Cranberry. I'm just going to put that in my little Inkapet. I am doing this swatch with a Kakimori brass nib dip pen. And because these are all pretty saturated colors, I actually have 2 different water jars to get a really clean, to get my tool really clean. All right, so with the fine, and of course I made a big old mess. I always think it's like a game of operation, and I'm never good at keeping my fingers out of the ink. So this is Pilot Iroshizuku. I'm not loving the angle in which I'm writing, so I might adjust it in a moment. All right, so here is the medium. And with this, I'm going to write the name of the ink. And last but not least, I'll grab the stub, and with that, I just do some uppercase, lowercase lettering. Should make that swatch a little bigger. And then I rest the top of the nib, or the face of the nib, on a white t-shirt just to pull out all the extra moisture and while I'm swatching the next ink. Okay, so then Cranberry will go in the middle. That is a noted as a standard ink. However, it is not a standard ink. Diamine did a little bit of a whoopsie on that. No shade. I'm okay with it. So this leans a little bit more red. So Diamine. Cranberry. That ink slides really nicely off this nib. That was enjoyable, and I don't often say that about writing with a stub nib. I would like to say that about writing with a stub nib. Look at all of that sheen that's coming through. If you can't see it, I will move the page around. But as it dries, you see a little bit more of the, I guess, pinkish purple leaning magenta that you're seeing in the Yamabudo. So this is a shimmer ink with a sheen, I believe. And I'm not going to re-agitate it. And then this is even much more red. So you're kind of getting this whole range of magenta to deep red. So another Diamine. My Papa's out there. She needs something. So I will figure that out when I am done. This one is called All the Best. And some lettering. That also comes off the nib really well. That's enjoyable. All right, let me cap that and I can start to see some of the sheen coming through. Got my inky fingers. All right, so looking at these, I will start off a little bit differently. In the writing sample, whether it's the fine to the stub, was a really nice experience with writing. They're saturated inks. They are legible even with the fine nib. This is a TWSBI or German fine, so but I would imagine with, again, how saturated it is, even with a Pilot Sailor or Platinum fine, it's going to be just as legible. All three do have a level of sheen. Yamabudo has the least amount of sheen, followed by Diamine All the Best, and then the most is Diamine Cranberry, which is so wild that they note it as a standard ink when it clearly is not. The base color of each ink gets from Yamabudo to Cranberry, it shifts from kind of a purplish pink to a red pink, and then Dye Mine All the Best is a darker red. So it's almost a gradation, but the difference is that you've got the pinkish purple in Yamabudo. Looking at the 3 papers, so I have Bank Paper, Cosmo Air Light, and Tomoe River. It is a pretty similar color across the different papers, perhaps with Tomoe River being slightly darker, but on both the Cosmo Air Light and the Bank Paper, there's some lightness to it, which could be just from where my fingers were putting the paper down on the notebook. Looking at Dye Mine Cranberry, again, they look the same across all 3 papers. The sheen is most prevalent on the Cosmo Air Light and the least prevalent on the Tomoe River, which is interesting. And then Dye Mine All the Best, it's still drying a little bit right here, but it's this lovely dark red. It has a blue shimmer and then a green sheen. Compared to Cranberry, it's a slightly darker green than the sheen on Cranberry. But again, on all 3 papers, it looks pretty similar. And that has not been the case the last couple of 3 inks that I've done. So if you haven't seen any of my other 3 inks, I do encourage you to go back and look at it. I have a cluster of them on a playlist, and the rest I still need to categorize in that playlist. But I've got 39 of them. So yeah, it's this one was an interesting one. The other thing I'll comment on is, and I did not redip, etc., but the shimmer is certainly most prevalent in the Bank Paper, which makes sense as that was the first one that I swatched, and then it's slightly less and then slightly less. But the sheen is almost most prevalent, or it's most spread out on the Bank Paper, and then it's much more bright and concentrated on Cosmo Air Light and almost non-existent on the Tomoe River. I see a little bit of the sheen down here, but it does come out in the writing, which is really fascinating. So that is the 39th 3 Ink Thursdays based around Dye Mine Cranberry. And I'm excited to continue working my way through the ink vent as we get through. That's, will take us almost halfway through this calendar year, and that'll be really nice to look back at. So with that, I'm going to wish you a really productive day and week, and I hope I will see you in the next one. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe so that you are notified when I do post videos. So thanks so much, and bye-bye.